I want to show you how you can express yourself in an artistic way and say something or portray something you wish without having to search all over the internet to buy it. I had started this film and unfortunately I did not push the record. However, you'll get the process almost from the beginning. You can buy it like a t-shirt. Make sure you wash it first because it has chemicals on it that does not allow paint to adhere as well. Or you can take something you already have and give it a little new life for perhaps a special occasion. This is just regular stencils. I cut them apart so I could arrange them, and I use pins to hold them in place. You do not have to do it that way. You can do it freehand or however you feel. This particular demonstration, I wanted some turtles. So, you want to buy paint that's specifically for fabric paint. There are many kinds. There's some that roll on, there's some that brush on, and some that you just squeeze the nozzle. This can be done different ways. I like the nozzle. I had started it before I realized the camera wasn't functioning, so you do see some of the work in progress. I don't particularly like this particular brand of paint as well, but it's what I could find, so here we go. Now, it says you can brush it on or squeeze it on, according to the instructions. I don't really like the squeeze it on look because it does say it stays textured, which normally would not be a bad thing. However, I'm noticing for the turtle, it's a little bit much. So what I'm going to do, I want to close it so it don't dry, is I'm going to use the brush and kind of even it out a bit. And then I'm going to do some artistic maneuver, and I'm going to use the paint to blend some colors. So we're just going to take that excess and put it over here. This is why a stencil works good, because you can play around with the paint without messing up your fabric. And get him all covered. And this particular brand of paint says to let it dry for 72 hours. You may have a paint that requires you to put it in the dryer in high heat or whatever, and that's fine. Just make sure that you read instructions first and know which kind of paint you have. Now I want to blend in some other color, so I'm going to open up another tube. Since I tend to drop stuff, I do recommend, if you're the same way, you go about the stencils or use some sort of protectant for the areas you do not want to get paint on. Here it comes close. And this particular paint says that after it dries you may have to put another coat on it. And I can see that it's fairly transparent. Oops. I'll fix that. Just a minute. I don't know how fast I have to work before it starts getting like acrylic paint where you can't do much with it when it gets a skin on the top. Alright, let's put some green on there. The paint I'm used to using from previous times was a little thicker, so you had a little more control. And we'll make it do. Ooh, that's a pretty green, isn't it? Very shamrock. What I'd be curious about is after the first washing, whether that glitter stays on the design or travels throughout the laundry. That's one thing I have not tested. Let's put a little bit on there. don't want to get too thick because I'm a little worried it won't dry properly. It's not blending really well on this one. Don't know if the film is picking it up, but in the real life scenario, this actually looks pretty good. Cameras don't always interpret things the same. And notice once that sets in, it doesn't blend as well. That's a little different because the paint I like to use normally, you get a little more time to mess around with the design. Alright, I'm going to let that dry for the next few hours before I try to add more paint to it. So far, I think this one looks the best. This one doesn't look bad, but it could look better, I think. But this is just because I think the paint is rather thin, and the first pass on there is not as easily done. Let's see if some water can clean that up. Actually, I think it's making it worse. We can work around that, though. We can make swirls or whatever. As Bob Ross used to say, happy accidents. Alright, I'll show you the result or the next step after this dries and then get a better look at it. Well, the first layer is dry, and I wanted to show you what I used. Of course, this turtle sheet I cut up for stencils. This is the paint I use, Tulip Dazzle Glitter. And of course there's instructions on the back, and their website tells a little more about their products. I don't use them other than for this project so far, so I can't tell you much about them other than they do seem to be okay. And I'm going to give this another layer. Squeeze out some different color. I think the green is my favorite of these so far. It seems to be more vibrant and a little more opaque. Trying not to get it on the shirt outside of the stencil. Not too well coordinated. Where it's thick, I think it looks really nice, but I can still see quite a bit of the shirt through it. But maybe it'll look different once I take the stencil off. Almost looks like it's lifting the bottom layer. It might not be dry enough to truly do this well. But I don't want to spend the whole week doing this shirt, so let's give that a little more. Let's see what color. I think this needs a little more green or something to it. Looks kind of plain, doesn't it? Let's jazz it up a bit. It definitely will be a form of expression because sparkles and turtles, both a very popular topic for clothing. Just get a little bit. I'm glad this isn't the bake-on paint because glitter, I think if the glitter would decide to come off, putting it in your appliances, probably not the best idea. Yeah, I think that looks alright. Okay, we're going to let this dry, and then the next step I'll be taking the pins and the stencil off, removing the cardboard. You want to have cardboard in there in case it seeps through. and we'll see how it looks. Alright, see you in a little bit. Okay, it's been quite a while since I put the paint on, and it's not cured yet. It is dry enough to touch, but it needs another 72 hours to cure and be fully set. However, let's remove the plastic there and see how it looks. Now, I don't know what's going to happen when I try to pull off this plastic. It may stick to the shirt. I don't know, because like I said before, I've not used this particular product. I've used many others who did not stick, but that don't mean this time it won't. Must be very careful with pins. There we go. I like the ones with the colored heads. They're easier to see and grip. Alright, sorry for that noise. Alright, let's see what happens. Uh-oh. This is what I was afraid of. It's glued on there, but I'm going to work with it. I know from the feeling of the paint, it was like the acrylic paint. It was very sticky. It just takes a little work. I know it's probably more professional to try stuff like this before filming to see what it works like, but I kind of want you to experience it with me the way I'm experiencing it, because the real world out there isn't always the best take, the best polish. Wow. That is testing me. Hope it doesn't ruin the stencil, but if it does, they weren't very expensive. I think I paid around $1 for it. It's rather thin and flimsy. Ooh, I like that. So far, I think it was worth the trouble. Wow, it's a good workout. Some tough stuff. I like that the shirt is a sturdier one. I paid a little more to get a nicer one. I don't like t-shirts that feel like they're ready to fall apart the first time you wear them. I do get some now and then for use and when I'm painting, but for regular wear, wow, that is a tough paint. I might need to remember that if I need to coat something sturdy. Okay, you can see where I had a little oopsie here and there. I don't think it was too bad. I think it looks pretty nice considering the little mistakes I made. Anyway, this is something if you want to express yourself, this might be one way to go. These paints, I'm kind of iffy on them. I think they're beautiful. I think the effect looks really nice. However, I just don't really like the texture, and I'm not really into glitter because it seems like glitter finds a way to get in everything, even if it's in a polymer like this. Okay, I'm going to end this video. I hope you enjoyed the experience with me, and I would like to hear from you if you try this and have something to post. I have different things like Discord and Facebook for my art business. If you want to post your creations and share them and talk about them, you're more than welcome to do so. Have a good evening. Talk to you later.